As time runs out, Billy desperately attempts to signal for rescue. Johnny grapples with certain death. Will the stranded friends make it down alive? Or become a grim warning for others who dare the climb? Welcome to the Spine Thrills channel, where your nightmares come true. The sun had just dipped beneath the horizon, casting a melancholic glow across the city. The usually bustling streets had started to quiet as evening took hold, but the city lights gleamed brightly. From the ground, the large cell phone tower stretched into the sky like a metallic giant looming into the heavens. At the top flashed a red beacon. Filled with excitement, Billy and Johnny began ascending the cell phone tower, imagining the panoramic views from the top. However, the climb would prove more challenging than either had anticipated. Billy, with his adventurous and thrill-seeking personality, had convinced his more cautious, safety-minded friend Johnny to join him. It would be their most daring feat yet climbing the tower. They had often watched maintenance crews scale it, and the thought of doing the same intrigued them. Plus, they could get amazing footage for their growing YouTube channel. Armed with GoPro cameras to capture the ascent and promised breathtaking views, they started climbing. They left their phones at the base, worried the transmission cell's powerful signal might fry their brand new iPhone 15s if they brought them too close. Billy started up the long ladder first, with Johnny following close behind. Throughout the climb, Johnny watched Billy's feet to know when the next rung was clear to continue upward. Everything was going smoothly until they neared the top. As Billy climbed onto the platform above, Johnny glanced down to see how far they'd come. An overwhelming and unfamiliar sensation gripped him. His pulse started racing, his hands went clammy, and the city below seemed to pull him downward. The sprawling urban landscape should have been a wondrous sight. Instead, it yawned like a chasm, threatening to swallow him whole. The realization was suffocating. Johnny was experiencing a severe, immobilizing fear of heights acrophobia. Worse still, it was coupled with vertigo's dizzying disorientation. Grappling with this newfound terror, Johnny froze, clinging to the ladder and unable to move. He didn't understand what was happening to him, except that absolute fear had paralyzed him in place. Feeling exhilarated, as he walked around the platform, Billy didn't notice that his best friend Johnny hadn't joined him. Once he realized Johnny wasn't there yet, he hurried back to the ladder. He found Johnny only a few feet below, staring wide-eyed at the ground. Billy called out, and Johnny slowly turned his gaze upward. His eyes were filled with unmistakable terror. His face was etched with a raw, primal fear Billy had never seen before. White knuckles clutching the ladder, Johnny's breathing came in panicked gasps. Billy was shaken, seeing his friend paralyzed by a dread that plunged far deeper than anything either had expected in their thrill-seeking climb. At first, Billy tried everything to comfort Johnny and encourage him up the ladder. But Johnny could not move. Billy realized that 200 feet up, there was no way he could maneuver around his friend to climb down and get help. Their phones were at the bottom. They were both trapped atop the tower. An hour or more passed as Billy urged Johnny to move. The situation began to annoy him. He didn't understand the sheer terror Johnny was feeling. Eventually, his frustration boiled over. "Johnny," Billy chastised harshly, "you have 10 steps left." 10 steps. This is pathetic. You pick now. To be a scaredy cat of heights? Get up here or we're both going to die. Confident his threat would work, Billy stepped out of view. Johnny was close to hyperventilating. His chest hurt. He was sure he was going to have a heart attack and drop to a horrific death. Tears streamed down his cheeks and snot dripped from his nose. But he wouldn't move a muscle to wipe them away. Feeling rejected and misunderstood, Johnny retreated into his own hell. A few hours went by. Billy had been peering over the edge to check on Johnny often, who was trembling uncontrollably. Johnny's hands were sweating. He felt like he was losing his grip on the ladder rung. But the overwhelming panic this high on the ladder would not subside. Several times that night, Johnny had thoughts of just letting go, allowing his body to plunge to the ground. He wanted to get it over with and allow his best friend to escape this torturous nightmare. His mind was in such a panic state, he couldn't think of any other way out. And he knew he couldn't hang on much longer. Death felt imminent. A few more hours went by. Billy's calm voice echoed in the night. It offered some reassurance for Johnny, even if Billy was being a jerk. At least he wasn't alone. But Billy was apologizing. "I don't get what happened to you, Johnny, but I'm so sorry for what I said. I'm mad at myself, not you, for talking you into doing this, and for leaving my phone behind. That was so stupid. This must be real and terrifying for you. You wouldn't do this on purpose. Hang on until sunrise, okay, buddy? Someone will see us up here." Johnny didn't feel strong enough for a conversation, but he managed to give Billy a small smile. His fear of falling was stronger than staying on the ladder. So, he focused on controlling his breathing, ignoring the painful cramps in his hands and legs, and holding on for dear life. As night deepened, their plight grew dire. The friends were isolated atop the tower. Billy's cries for help, swallowed by the vast city below, carried away by the wind. The distant sound of faint freeway traffic offered little solace or hope of rescue. Each hour felt like days as the moon carved its arc across the forsaken night sky, its silver glow their sole companion. Billy slept fitfully, curled against the cold, but he couldn't stop worrying that Johnny would let go and fall to his death. Occasionally, he'd check on his friend, but there wasn't much else he could do. He stared up at the sea of stars, contemplating the fragility of their lives. As dawn approached, inspiration struck. Billy recalled an old movie trick and decided to try it. Adjusting his GoPro, he used the first rays of sunlight to reflect off the lens down toward the freeway. The flashing reflection signaled passing cars. Soon, one pulled over, the driver peering up at them. He waved to Billy and got on his phone, presumably to call for help. "They're coming for us, Johnny. Hold on." Police cars and fire trucks shrieked into view minutes later. Relief flooded through them at the sight of help, but Johnny remained seized by panic and lingering vertigo. Billy felt a weight off his shoulders, knowing their horrific ordeal was almost over. A seasoned rescuer named Alex began the climb to reach the boys. He approached Johnny cautiously. Johnny was clinging to the ladder rung with a white-knuckled grip, eyes wide with dilated pupils brimming with fear. Alex recognized the symptoms of acrophobia and a severe case. "It's okay. You're safe now," Alex said gently. "I'll get you down." Johnny was breathing rapidly, his body rigid and sweating. "I can't move," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm dizzy, I'm weak, and I'm afraid I'll fall." Sensing Johnny's sheer terror and the physical toll on his body, Alex decided on a different approach. He strapped a buddy harness to himself and then secured the other end around Johnny. "You and we're going down together. Step by step. Help me the best you can, but I've got you. You won't fall. Just focus on each rung in front of you and don't look down," Alex coaxed. With Alex's patient support and constant assurances, Johnny gradually released his death grip on the ladder. The duo began their descent, step by step, with Alex guiding and comforting Johnny throughout the journey. Billy was then harnessed and lowered safely. Finally, on solid ground, the gravity of the harrowing night hit them. Johnny was loaded into an ambulance. He'd held onto that ladder, a moment away from a fatal fall, for 12 traumatizing hours. The rescue team praised him for his amazing courage and endurance. After Billy was checked out, the MPs released him with a bottle of water and ordered him to hydrate. The police interviewed him, and he recounted the entire story, knowing he could get in trouble. In fact, the police informed him it was a misdemeanor to trespass and climb the cell tower, and that his actions were irresponsible and dangerous. Feeling like an idiot, and knowing he'd be in trouble in more ways than one, Billy gathered his and Johnny's belongings, and a police officer drove him home. They'd survived the frightening ordeal, with Johnny at death's door. But they were alive, and that's all that mattered. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have a true story that is scary, creepy, or horrifying, which is well written, and you would like me to share, send the story to spinethrills@gmail.com.